viewers we know want to know who is our special guest for today. Please can you introduce yourself?
My name is Gbenro Adegbola. I'm a book publisher. I've done that most of my life, and I currently run this company called First Veritas Educational Content Delivery Limited. We try to contribute our little quota to the development of education in Nigeria through the provision of content, not just through the print form, but as well as the digital form.
Today, the United Nations is celebrating the World Book and Copyright Day. And of course, you are one of the big players in this industry. What is the celebration all about?
Well, the World Book and Copyright Day is just a day set aside by the United Nations to celebrate the book and the culture of the book. 2, to focus on issues surrounding and affecting the book, as well as copyright, and give an opportunity for the larger population to get an idea of what goes into the production of books and the preservation of the integrity of the copyright of the book.
Now today, in Africa, in Nigeria, when you talk about the reading culture, it's almost becoming will I say on a negative level. What do you think is actually what is contributing to the dwindling reading culture among the youths in Nigeria?
Basically, I think it's an economic problem. I've been in this business long enough to publish books that had nothing to do with education, that had purely to do with general interest reading, that has sold 250,000 copies, that has sold 500,000 copies. That was in the 80s. And then shortly after that period, there came the huge economic disaster that the Shagari era had, birthed, which only came into full effect in 83, 84, 85. Purchasing power reduced drastically, and following closely on the feet of that was the years of waste, as I call it, the eras of Babangida and Abacha, when there was a period when for almost one whole year, schools were closed and people were just generally tired. And that resulted into the loss of faith in education and the acquisition of knowledge as an instrument of social advancement. But come 99, 2000, with the return of democracy and greater stability in the economy, the publishing industry witnessed a gradual climb, back to some prominence, and with that, a gradual increase in the reading capacity of Nigerians. Unfortunately, in the last so many years, Nigeria has returned again to economic problems as well as political problems. The security situation in some parts of the country has meant, for example, that there's really no schooling going on. So books are not being sold to those parts. And really, it is only when you are safe and confident in your security that you want to read for pleasure. So, apart from school books, you can't even talk about reading for pleasure in those parts. So those are some of the main issues that affect the level of reading in Nigeria. coupled with the fact that from the start, Nigerians have tended to look at reading as a purely functional utility affair, just purely a means to an end, a means to acquire an education, and once that education is acquired. But like I said, it's been up and down. I've never believed that Nigerians don't read. I have always believed that it's a question of what is made available for them to read. If you're able to lay your hands on what they want to read, Nigerians will read it. But of course, we have these issues of economy and all that.
Now, of course, as an industry player, how do you think the government of the day, the federal government, the state government, and of course, the local government can actually improve the reading culture in Nigeria?
I think it's a little bit asking too much to ask the federal government to be thinking about what to do to improve the culture of state governments. I mean, there's so much to do, for other things to do. I think players like ourselves can take the lead. And that is not to say government cannot support. I mean, by doing very minimal things. Like, say, for example, the Executive Council, Federal Executive Council, once a month says this is the book of the month. And at the end of the month, one minister is going to make a presentation for 15 minutes to the council. This will have, it will be reported in the news, it will have a spill down effect onto people, and gives people the assurance that our leaders do have an intellectual background to some of the policies that they are espousing. I would rather suggest that industry players should take a lead, and whatever government is supposed to do should be merely supportive, supplemental. And of course, events like the World Book and Copyright Day are some of the things that are being done to at least make a greater awareness of the book industry and the importance of books in our culture, in our society.
Today, if you look at, let's take Nigeria in Africa compared to other developed world, the level of how Nigerians read compared to developed world, you will imagine, how do we now get informed?
Yeah, the world is changing. Time there was when the only means of acquiring any information was to sit down in front of a little box, a radio box. Well, then time changed. It was a television. Before that it was just a book and magazines. So times are changing. I myself find that I read far less than I used to, but I'm not less well informed. Because I have my phone, I have my computer, so there are so many more media of transferring and sharing knowledge and information these days, which is the whole idea of our company, why we are not called a publishing company. We're called an educational content and delivery company, because we are very deliberate and intentional in our desire and decision not to share knowledge just through the print alone, but through digital and other means as well. So I think people have alternative means of staying informed, than many of us had when we were younger.
Now, with the advent and with what you have said, with the advent of technology, and what you have just said, about having alternative means than the hard copy, don't you think, as an industry player, do you see hard copy books going into extinction with the advent of technology, e-books, etc.?
That will never happen. The book is the physical book, hard copy book, has a whole different layer of its own. I think digital can only be a complementary medium for publications. I have no fear about that. If you look at sales trends in the advanced countries over the last couple of years, you see a gradual climb again for print publications. Whereas every book that is published now also has a digital component to it. So that there's more digital publications now, yet print is going up. So I don't share that fear at all. Otherwise, I wouldn't be in this business. I wouldn't invest so much in this business.
Now, today we're celebrating World Book and Copyright Day. Do you think that the copyright law is off to date as regards to book publishing and authoring in Nigeria?
Well, the copyright laws are not never cast in stone. Laws, like human beings and institutions, are supposed to grow and develop. As it is today, it's not a perfect law, but even with its imperfection, it is an instrument of what's it called? An instrument to protect copyright, and it can do the job fairly well. That is not to say that it cannot be improved. But the problem that I think exists, even in the form that the law is at the moment, is the problem of implementation. When the police have the powers, but somehow are unable to, prevent a crime. Yeah. I think that's the problem we have with the copyright law in Nigeria. There's a copyright commission, and at the moment we do have a gentleman who is very capable and who does his best within fairly, serious limitations. But there is still room for the copyright commission. The enforcement is what I was looking for. It's the enforcement, and there's still room for the copyright commission to go in terms of enforcing the law, even as it is. That is not to say that the law should not be revised or improved or developed at each point in time when new things come up. For example, digital. For example, right now what we have is just applying wholesale the provisions for print to digital. There might come a situation tomorrow where there will be an event in digital that never existed in print. So the question will be how to enforce that. So there's room for development of the law, but even as it is, enforcement is key, and there's room for greater improvement in terms of enforcement.
On the final note, you talked about industry players like yourself taking the lead towards reading culture. How do you think the industry players can better mix the publishing industry and, of course, this industry to be a viable one that will contribute to the GDP of this great nation?
Well, believe it or not, the industry is fairly viable. Fairly viable. If it wasn't, I wouldn't be here. And it contributes quite a significant amount to the, where it's grouped under the education sector in the Bureau of Statistics reports, and it does contribute a significant amount to the GDP of the country. But in terms of improving reading, we also need to make a distinction between types of publishers. People like me are educational publishers. Okay, I'm more. Let me put it this way: not strictly. I'm more interested in doing books that will be used in the classrooms to enhance what the teacher is teaching the pupils. Okay, that's a whole different ballgame from other publishers who are publishing novels to read for pleasure, biographies, memoirs, and things like that. That's a different kettle of fish from academic publishing, for example. So yeah, in terms of what can be done, I think public enlightenment and the continuous publication of books, no matter how limited, to make them available. Once they are available, the people who are committed to reading will, it's a question of priorities. If you love clothes, no matter how much you earn, every few months you make money available to buy a new shirt. Okay, if you love books, no matter how poor you are, you will make money available every now and then to buy books. But if they are not available, then there's a serious problem. So the thing is, people who are in the industry should just continue to persevere. An imperceptible move in the economy will work a lot of magic for the industry. It's not until the economy begins to grow by double digits that the industry will feel it. A 1-2% growth in the economy can be significant enough for the industry.
Finally, what advice do you have for the youths who are the future of the country as regards to reading culture?
Well, it's always said that a man who has acquired the ability to read but does not read has no advantage over the man who never went to school. So people should just think back on that, and begin to do the right thing. It's really not in my place to advise the youth to read. I mean, they know that this is a world of information. It's the information age. And information, rightly or wrongly, for some reason, is mostly transmitted through the written word. Of course, it can be talked about, but it's mostly transmitted through the written word. So the only way a mind can develop is to constantly improve itself. And one of the ways of constantly improving the mind is feeding it. And the way of feeding the mind really is reading.
On the finance, you've been in this industry. How many books do you have to your credits that your organization have published?
At this organization, I don't have a specific count, but as at last count, I think we've done in excess of 500. And we probably have another 60 to 70 that are in the pipeline that are being delayed for one reason or the other. COVID shutdowns, etc. Of course, we're a fairly young company. We're only about 8 years old. So, but we've done about 500 books now.
It's been wonderful chatting with you. I want to say a big thank you to you for your time, and of course, happy World Book Day and Copyright Day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you and God bless.
Thank you so much.